Welcome, everyone. This is the Do No Evil, Speak No Evil show, where I interview awesome individuals making a positive local impact. I'm your host, Blair Neher, a.k.a. the Chief Primate. My guest today is David Robinson. David is the founder and Chief Encouragement Officer of the Get Strapped Nation. So thank you for coming on the show today, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, man. Thank you. So once again, we got to give a big shout out to our host who has yet again let us use their facility. Optimum Ed is a higher education consulting firm based here in Richmond. Optimum Ed provides college admissions and financial aid coaching for students, with the end game being attendance at the best fit college at an affordable price, leading to the right career. So thanks, Tom Leahy and Optimum Ed. All right, man, let's get into it.
Rock on.
Awesome. So I always like to start off with the story and the why. The GS Nation is doing some super positive things here in Richmond. So tell us your story, your passion, and how you got where you are today.
Yeah, man. Well, again, appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
It's definitely cool to be able to share that story and on an awesome platform, to like a podcast. So it's a fun one. A lot of winding twists and turns as all of our stories go. But I grew up kind of playing soccer as a normal kid, right? Leaping, falling on the ground, as my mom kind of always said. And I was always outdoors, always active, but never really a naturally athletic kid, right? So I didn't really have a good, I wasn't the fastest or the strongest or the biggest. I always kind of was like the hustle kid that was diving after loose balls and playing good defense. And that's how I made the basketball team type stuff, right? And so, I kind of grew up insecure because of a lot of those things, and didn't really feel great about taking my shirt off at the pool, or didn't really feel great about kind of not ever finishing first in any of these races, or doing any of these kind of higher level things athletically that I really wanted to do. And so when I found kind of strength and conditioning, or athletics, so to speak, from a kind of a more concerted standpoint, that really allowed me to kind of come into my own a little bit and start to excel in some certain areas. And those changes brought about confidence. I started treating myself better. I started treating other people better because of that. And we, or I'd say we, I don't know, I said just we just now, but I kind of was able to find a place for myself, which was cool. So a lot of what we're doing with GS Nation now is helping people to kind of find and build that confidence, and help them to kind of have those same progressions in life that I think come along when you're able to step into your own. So went to school for business finance, realized I couldn't do the math, and so I quit that after the first semester and became a history major.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was.
And what'd you do with that degree?
Zero. That was up the road at James Madison University. So
nice.
About a month before I graduated, I had this big freak out, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a high school history teacher. I frankly only wanted my summers off. So that's really the only reason why I wanted to teach.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't want to be that teacher, right? Because that would be a really
poor
teacher. So I ended up doing a powerlifting meet that weekend, and I met the strength and conditioning coach for basketball at the University of Richmond, Jay DeMeo, who's still there.
Oh, wow.
And he brought me on as an intern there for about a year. So I worked with football, men's soccer, women's soccer, did a little bit with field hockey and some with lacrosse, and learned a ton about strength and conditioning. Really realized that wasn't necessarily the direction that I wanted to go in for a career at that particular point in time, just based on a lack of flexibility of your time and income. So I got into financial planning, did that for about 8 years. And then kind of have made my way back into the coaching, into that kind of true passion of, really being in that athletic world and helping people achieve and kind of feel those same things, and empower people to kind of step into their own. So,
nice.
Yeah, it kind of brings us back to today, and long story short.
Yeah, nice. So you're both an athletic coach currently and an elite athlete yourself. So talk about the obstacle races you compete in. I've done like 4 or 5 rugged maniacs, and they about kill me every time. So I usually see you on the podium for these races, like you've won or come in second. So that's crazy considering the draw those things get. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. Definitely my passion. One of my passions is racing these obstacle course races. So for people who aren't really familiar, there's a bunch of different brands: Tough Mudder, Rugged Maniac, you mentioned. Battle Frog, Spartan is the big one that I race in.
Right.
Spartan is a little bit more, I think, competitive in the sense of all of their athletes can kind of place, right? And so Tough Mudder is a little bit more fun run type things, and Rugged Maniac is kind of the same in that sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've done those and I've had a blast, and they do a great job of getting people off the couch and getting people who, were maybe athletic in some other either time frames or in other sports, kind of getting them outside at Lifetime, with Spartan, the thing that kind of drew me to it initially was just the difficulty of it and kind of the challenge of it. So
it's much longer. It's like 10 miles, right?
Can be. So they've got numerous different distances. They've
Okay.
got about 1.5 miles to 2 or 3 mile race that can be held in, or that is held in a stadium.
Oh, wow.
Nationals Park, Lambeau Field, all these big venues all across the U.S., which is actually really cool. And they've got a 3 to 5 mile distance, an 8 to 10 mile distance, and a 15 to 17 mile distance. And they actually just brought on an ultra marathon distance, so like a 30 mile distance.
With obstacles.
With obstacles, right?
Holy crap.
So, between 20 and 40 obstacles typically, and a lot of times it's up and down mountains, up and down ski resorts, up and down, my first race was at Wintergreen.
Yeah, that's the one I heard of was Spartan. And it was like, well, you did Rugged Maniac. You want to go do the Spartan race in Wintergreen. It's 10 miles and twice the obstacles. It's like, no, I'm good.
It totally destroyed me the first time. I did it with a buddy of mine, and we got our tail handed to us, like handedly. I remember, they just send you down, like, I don't know, they're ski slopes, man.
Right.
Like, they're like down the Black Diamond, and then you turn around and come up the Black Diamond, but now you're carrying a 50-pound log on your back, and it was mayhem. And so I finished 2,500 out of 6,000 or something like that. I probably wouldn't have come back if I didn't run into the guys from Operation Enduring Warrior, which is actually really cool. They were there, and I remember I was bitching to my buddy. I was like, God, my legs hurt, man. This is awful, right? And I turn a corner, and I come in, and I see, guys with one leg or guys with no legs, and they're just gotten through it with full military gas masks on and full military fatigues, and that shut me up real quick. And
give you some perspective really quick.
Great perspective, and that was towards the very end of the race, and when we finished, we hung around and grabbed the beer and watched all of that group. This was about 4:30 in the afternoon. They all started at 8 a.m. together, right? And they were out there that whole day together, making sure everybody came across that line, probably 20 or 30 people, national anthem being played on the bagpipes, and they're running through. Dude, it was super cool. So that kind of like hooked me, and I was like, all right, I'm going to come back again next year and finish maybe like 1,200 out of 2,400 or out of 6,000 or whatever. So I decided to do the 3 distances the following year, and which is, they call it the trifecta, and kind of started just getting better and better at it. And I didn't really dive into it seriously until about the end of 2015, beginning of 2016.
Okay.
I raced 6 times. I raced 12 times last year, and I've ran 7 or 8 this year already.
Good grief, man.
But I've had a fair amount of success. I've gotten my goal for a long time was to crack the top 100 in like the elite category, the higher level of the kind of divisions, I guess. I was able to do that, and I've just been chipping away. I've been a pretty consistent top 25, top 30 finisher, and best finish has been 16th so far, but I won my age group in that particular race down in Charlotte, which was cool. So,
I think that's what I saw.
Probably. Yeah, that was a cool race. That actually qualified me for the obstacle course racing world championships in London, which was a big goal of mine since January 1st of 2016. Wrote down my goals. Nice. And so I accomplished that one like 2.5 years later, which was cool. And then a race next weekend is my biggest race of the year until that race later on in the year. So that's in West Virginia. It's the West Virginia U.S. Championship Series for I guess their whole series basically. So it's going to be against all the highest level men and women competitors, and probably won't win that one. Let's put it to you that way.
Dude, if you could finish it, I think that's an accomplishment, right?
It's going to be a fun one.
And I've done the Rugged Maniac with OEW the past 2 years.
It's awesome.
not this year, but the year before was John Hunt's first race, and he was
Very
the
cool.
blind veteran that recently passed away. He was just an old, hard as nails goat. And the first year he did it, it was his very first thing, and he walked it and figured it out. And so it was kind of lax for us to just walking to keep up with them and going over the obstacles. So it ended up being a real relaxed day. So we did it this year, and he right out the gate he just starts running, and I'm like, oh crap! I had beers last night.
Right.
I wasn't expecting anything. He ran the whole damn thing, and
Wow.
I was having to watch like the ruts in the ground because I got spindly ankles, and he was just going like,
Wow.
and it was inspiring. And unfortunately, he passed this year, but he lived a pretty full life. So
Yeah, heck yeah.
yeah. So the show is all about local positivity, which is why I had you on. This is kind of a chance for you to brag and talk about some of the positive impacts GS Nation has had here in Richmond. So anytime I peek at your Instagram, anybody in your training sessions, they're all smiling way too hard for people that just got their ass handed to them. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, it's I wish I had more info on it, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what's going on too, and like what the special sauce is, but it's there and it's something.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. We've got a group of folks. We meet every Wednesday at Libby Hill Park, 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. every single week, and we throw down, man. Like we really, really get after it. And I drive a Hyundai Elantra, a poor little 4-door sedan. I've got 1,000 pounds worth of kettlebells and weight plates and sandbags. Dude, my suspension is shot so bad.
Bouncing down the road.
Oh my gosh. I hit a pothole earlier this year and cracked my wheel. Not my tire, but my wheel. Yeah, it was rough. No, I mean, we get out there and we go through a dynamic warm-up. We bring out those toys, I call them, the equipment, and we'll do body weight exercises with that. So we're lifting heavy weights. I mean, they're 50, 60, 70 pounds, some of them are 25, 35, 45, and then we'll carry those implements up and down various parts of Libby Hill Park. And
Nice.
So what we're doing is we're warming the body up really well. We're getting some strength exercise in, and then we're getting in loaded carries, or weighted walks as I call them, which is one of the most functional things you can do from an athletic standpoint. I mean, just pick something up and carry it somewhere. That's what we do as humans, right? That we used to have our lives on our backs, as we're wandering and walking around and moving from this place to that. And, it's one of the things that you can recover very quickly from, but also burns a lot of body fat because you're able to keep your heart rate down typically. And if you are keeping or getting your heart rate up, those loaded carries are easier to recover from because you're not running anywhere. You're not putting a lot of impact on the ground. You're just walking.
Right.
And so we'll get into some loaded carries. Sometimes we'll do some sprints. I mean, we really mix it up, but it's just the greatest group of positive, happy people. And nobody bitches. Nobody complains. Everybody throws down hard and like pushes themselves past their perceived limits all the time. And what happens when you do that is you build confidence. People are going from not ever being able to not ever lifting weights before, or not really able to move correctly. And when you make yourself strong and you do so through like really hard work that you're really pushing and working for, something changes in your mind. You start to think, well, shit, I can do anything, man.
Yeah.
If I can get through this, like I thought this was going to break me, and I didn't, and I got through, and I'm stronger, and I can smile with people, and because everybody's happy, and everybody's going through it together. You're suffering in solidarity with your people who are just like you as far as your mindset goes, and you get done, and it's all smiles and good vibes, and you got all the endorphins flowing, and it's awesome, man. It really is.
And it's always cool to me, being personally too, to see how a group of people that are all suffering right along with you, it will push you further than you would ever do by yourself.
100%.
And yeah, I mean, that whole mentality it just works.
It does.
And it's the same with I always bring up jiu-jitsu because that's how I stay in moderate shape. And anytime that you go to quit or look like you're going to quit, and the coach catches your eye and Blair, don't get up, don't you do that. It's like, okay. So I could totally get that.
I mean, it's the courage muscle. It's the thing that that you have to make those hard decisions and you have to suffer in order to get better at things, right? And you have to, and that's for every aspect of your life, you know. And I think as our society, as a Western society, our society here is so geared towards convenience and comfortability, and it makes you know, people soft, and it makes it harder to deal with heavier life situations. And so I'm a big believer that, you know, if you can put yourself through things physically, and if you can put yourself through things mentally, it just hardens you, you know, and it makes you better able to show up for other people and other aspects of your life and their life. So, you know, we're doing a lot with education. We're doing a lot with just support, accountability. We've got an app. We've got a lot of different things that kind of help people to be held accountable, but also give them the direction of things that are really important, that really move the needle. You know, so none of our programs have bicep curls, and we're not on the elliptical. You're not, I mean, we're doing things that really, really matter and that help you, you know, perform better, move better, look better, feel better, not only as a person, but as an athlete. And we're all athletes because we're all moving and you know, at least those of us who are trying to better themselves, you know, in any way, shape, or form, whether you're, you know, women's over 40 Masters, C League, and, you know, indoor soccer, whatever you're doing, just out running or walking. I mean, if you're out there trying to better yourself, you're an athlete. So
I'm in that Masters category.
Yeah, I am too. I'm getting there. But
so talk a little bit about how you came up with the name GS Nation, and more specifically the Get Strapped. And I know from listening to some hip hop growing up, Get Strapped has a reference of arming yourself.
Sure.
So let's hear your angle on that.
All right. So stay strapped was always just something we said. It was kind of like peace in high school, and I don't know specifically where it came from, but to me, what it means is it's you know, being strapped is like having that. It's having that confidence that you know you put in the work and that you know you're going to be able to show up. And I think that it's more a mindset than it is anything else. You know, it's not bravado or it's not swag. It's just, you know, I think confidence comes from knowing that you worked for it and that you came from something, you know, and I battled a lot of things still, you know, mentally, as far as I've got poor eating habits. I've got binging habits. I've got,
you like cake?
I mean, dude, I like all kinds of things, but I've got a poor relationship with food. You know, I'm still working through some body dysmorphia stuff, and you know, I'm still trying to figure it all out myself. And nobody's ever perfect with these things, but you know, I think that it's more an ethos than anything else. It's more just kind of a way that you carry yourself because you know that you've earned it. You know, and I think that comes from, you know, looking in the mirror and taking a glance and seeing like, okay, you know, I've done some good work. Or it's that confidence you have when you put on your favorite outfit or slip on that cute little dress and you walk out and, you know, go on that date and you know that you feel good. It's that pep in your step, you know, and again, that comes from the, you know, the work aspect. But somebody threw up a double bicep and it's like, oh man, stay strapped, and I think that's kind of where it started. So
nice.
Yeah.
So it has a similar reference, you know, arming yourself with confidence.
Sure.
And when I first heard it, I was like, oh, I know what that means in a
different sense.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my buddies too rock climbed and surfed and, you know, snowboarded, and, you know, so I mean, you have lifting straps, so there's a lot of like applications to that. So we'd always say, you know, hey man, stay strapped, to our buddy who was a big rock climber at our gym. And you know,
don't fall.
Yeah, don't fall. You know, so there's a lot of applications. Whatever it means to you, just keep doing it.
Right on.
Yeah.
So the other part of that is the word nation, and I really love how you use that. So talk about the mentality of building a community like you've done around your company. Yeah,
I mean, I think the community aspect is vital. So the way that we look at things from the standpoint of kind of like the order of importance is I do believe that we have to start with a mindset. You know, that mindset is the thing that that's the thing that gets you started. That's the thing that takes you from, you know, idea to conception, right? That's the thing that is going to get you up at 5 a.m. when you know you should be up doing ABC and you just want to sleep, right? It's that determination, that mindset to better yourself that comes first. Next order of importance is sleep. If you're not sleeping, you're not doing anything.
Right.
Right. And I can't really fix anything. No coach can fix anything if you're getting 5-6 hours of sleep a night, right? You know, so it's just
I'm trying.
That's the thing that everybody misses, I think, in the big equation, you know, and that's the thing that matters the most, frankly. So I would rather clients skip early morning workouts and sleep in if they're behind, and I'll I'll say that, like, skip the session. Like,
Oh, wow.
Like, you need to be able to recover. You need to be able to optimize your hormones. You need to be able to do those things that sleep does, and get those benefits. The third is going to be nutrition. So that comes before training. That comes before any of those aspects of, getting out in the gym and getting out there and hitting it. Like, nutrition doesn't necessarily have to be boiled chicken and broccoli either. I mean, it's about eating well. It's about gut health. It's about hydration. It's about having proper mineral, and electrolyte balance. I mean, that's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then comes the training, functional foundational movements, then recovery, right? And we're looking at recovery from the sense of, in the sleep aspect, but also recovery from the sense of the mobility, kind of what we were talking about before the show, of mobility, flexibility, prehabilitation, making sure you're not injured, making sure you're doing those little things that do move the needle, cryotherapy, acupuncture, heat exposure, a lot of those different aspects of training that are outside the gym,
mm-hmm.
right? All of that is encompassed by the community and the people that you're around. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that's an old adage, but I do believe that is entirely true. And
Interesting.
That's something that, if you are spending time with people who are driving you forward and pulling you forward, you're not spending time with people who are dragging you down. And it's physics, right? It's the rules of nature. Like, you're either going forward or you're going backwards,
right?
And so if 4 out of your 5 buddies are at happy hour at 5:30 on a Thursday, you are much more likely to be at happy hour with them as opposed to being on Hump Day Hills or coming out and, bettering yourself, going and reading, listening to the podcast, moving forward in whatever capacity it may be, right? And so it's who you're spending time with, it's how you're spending that time, and your odds greatly increase. The odds of being successful greatly increases if the people you're spending time with are of the
right
utmost
mindset.
Quality and the right mindset and in the direction in which you want to head. I mean, that it just
a lot of people I know are in the business world are working on 5-6 hours of sleep, and I try to preach to them you need 8 or 7 and change, because it's just your body needs that time to recover. But it seems like some people are able to operate on that for at least long periods of time. I think it eventually catches up to them.
It's affecting other areas of their life, for sure. I struggle with this as well, man. Like, and I'm gonna give it a glance.
Somebody probably knows who I'm talking about.
I harp on it, right? And as an athlete and putting in training volume and whatnot, like, I need to sleep. Like, sleep is so vitally important. And I'm also a business owner, and I'm also in the very fledgling stages of my business.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of other things. There's a lot of rabbits I'm chasing right now. And I struggle sometimes when I do need sleep and I need to push back that meeting or push back that workout session. Like, sometimes I feel like shit because I feel like I should be up, should be plugging away, when in reality my body needs to heal, and that some of that could be maybe having better nighttime habits, but a lot of times I'm just burning the candle at both ends, and there's only so many hours, and I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form, but it's a mental thing, and it's something that I need to work on, and that I am working on is giving myself a little bit of grace and being able to realize that it's okay to not get up at 5 a.m. every day, and sometimes you do need to sleep in, and sometimes you need to move things around. Sometimes you need to cancel plans and cancel workouts and cancel engagements or move some things and focus on your priorities. And sleep is the, after mindset, it's the number one priority. So
it's usually the guilt and the not the guilt, but the you better get up and do something, because I'm in the same shoes as you with newer business.
Yep.
Not a new business, so to speak, but it's definitely the full time being completely out on my own is as new as you are. All right, man. So I know when I started in Synapse about 2 years ago, when we first met, you were doing financial advising.
Yep.
So talk about making the leap to full-time coach and business owner. Sounds like we did it about the same time, June 1, 2018.
Yep.
That's when I made my part from the corporate world, and they said you can come back soon. I was like, no, I don't think I'm coming back ever.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So talk about that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I got into financial planning. I wanted freedom and flexibility of my time and income, and I wanted to make an impact, right, in people's lives. And those were always my three whys, right? And so, I had a great practice. I really enjoyed working with people, and I really enjoyed helping people through and walking them through these issues and problems in their financial life, and then making sure that they had a great foundation set and were building towards the future, right? Just helping people reach their goals. And it got to a point where I loved helping people reach their goals, but at the same time, I really was not a fan of what I was actually, what I was helping them with. Okay. So, I just wasn't passionate about it. And I kind of was 90% happy. And I've realized that if I was going to be 100% happy, if I really wanted to not have any regrets, that I really had to dive headfirst into my passions. And so I started the business back in end of 2016 actually, and was doing individualized coaching, individualized programming, one-on-one stuff for about 9, 10, 12 months. Ended up getting bit by a spider, believe it or not, and right on my elbow, and sent me to the hospital twice. And the second visit, I was there for 3 days, 2 nights. And
really?
Got IVs and 14 bags of IV fluid and
good grief,
antibiotics. It was this big crazy thing. I was never gonna die or anything. Right?
Was it like a brown recluse? Or?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And it did the whole thing.
Just got me. Elbow was out to softball, and
oh my.
Yeah, it was. I'm still paying for it, literally.
Financially.
Yes. It's brutal, man. So it's like that Saturday night, turning into Sunday morning, and they come in at 1 a.m. and I'm all got IV'd in both arms, and they're poking and prodding me. So I'm up, right? I'm there alone. I'm not gonna make my mom sleep on the floor of the hospital. But
right.
I'm gonna go home. Like, I'm fine. I'm not gonna die. Like, just come back in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and they're like, all right, we're probably gonna be able to go home tomorrow. So Sunday, and I was like, okay, cool. So it turns over to Sunday. I'm laying in the bed, and everything's beeping, and just all uncomfortable and pissed off. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna have to go to work on Monday. I just really, really don't want to do that. And that was kind of the big catalyst for me, man. That was like a eye-opening moment for me of, it wasn't that anything I was doing was wrong or that I like hated it. I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Long term, And so that kind of, I ended up leaving financial planning on November 15th, 2017, and I've still got a small, life and disability insurance practice on the side, but I went all in. I brought on a business partner, and we started building and developing what has become GS Nation. And that, it had a lot of iterations. It was maybe GS Fitness, it was maybe Stay Strapped Fitness, it was maybe GS Life. I mean, we went through this whole thing, but it's cool to kind of look back and finally nail something down, finally get that business plan set, finally here's what we're offering, here's what we're doing,
right.
And now be able to be 2.5, 3 months in, and we got a long way to go, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. And that nation is that collection of those people. So I'm nowhere without everybody who's in it. So
nice.
Yeah,
it's nice
awesome
that you recognize that. I mean, that's what makes us all what we are, is the clients that will tolerate us and
no doubt,
buy what we're selling. I know. Just on a note, I always notice that in Synapse meetings, we have a few minutes to talk about what we do, and it was like, I'm a financial planner for like 30 seconds, and then it was GS Nation stuff the rest of the time. So you could always kind of tell where your true passion was.
Yeah, and it wasn't always like that, man. I mean, I've been in Synapse for about 4 years almost.
Okay.
And I think, from kind of pretty early on. And I mean, I was all in financial planning. I was going to do this for the next 40 years. Like, I really, really was. And I don't know, something just switched. And it wasn't necessarily like anything that happened at all. It was just, I kind of realized as I was doing it part-time, I really enjoy doing this, right? I'm really jazzed by this. And B, like, why couldn't I just do this full time? I mean, it was just like that what if question. What if I do it and failed? It's like, okay, well, I'll just, you have 2 years to hang your license somewhere. I'll just come back. I'll just get another job. Like, it's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
You know, I'm a smart enough kid. I'll figure it out. You know, and on the other end, what if I was successful? That was the cool one. You know, that what if question of, holy shit, what if this works? You know, then I was like, all right, well, that's a gamble I like. I like those odds. You know, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, it was the same for me. It was like I could go back to the paycheck and the security, and honestly, it was Synapse that allowed me to step out. I just, the more I participated, the more I got back.
Right.
And the more I got involved with the nonprofits, the more I got back. And then I was like, man, if I had just a few more hours, and now I'm spending all my time. So let's talk about entrepreneurship. I feel like it's one of the most overused words in small and local business. And in my opinion, not everybody that opens a business is an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who are just businessmen. It really does take something unique or some type of innovation to apply, for that word to apply. So with that said, what you're doing with GS Nation is unique and a different approach than most athletic coaches and companies. So talk about what entrepreneurship means to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a popular word in today's world, you know, and
beaten to death.
It's beaten to death, and you know, in a lot of ways it's cool, and in a lot of ways, like, I thought it was cool. And I mean, you're a business owner. Like, for whatever reason, I thought I was ignorant enough to think that a lot of the hardships wouldn't apply to me for whatever reason, right? And just like of course it's going to be hard, but it can't be that hard. And you're like, oh, okay,
right?
You know, welcome to the world.
What's that pressure I feel?
So, you know, I think you're right. There are a lot of business owners. There's a lot of business, you know, men and women out there. You know, to me, I think entrepreneurship comes from creating more than anything else, you know, and that's, I think if you're creating and if you're using your passions towards something, then that's a great mark of an entrepreneur. Now, you can be an entrepreneur in a lot of other ways, you know, and just business in general. That is, you know, entrepreneurship. You can have multiple things that you're doing and selling and ways of generating income. You're definitely an entrepreneur. They might not all or any be part of your passions, but you know, my personal definition is, and when I kind of think of it, is diving into something, you know, as wholeheartedly as you can, and just making it be that thing that you know, it really kind of becomes you almost, or you become part of it. And it's hard, man. I mean, it really, really is. It's one of those things that you know, like I said earlier, I'm chasing a lot of rabbits, and you know, it's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, but it's so worth it. Like, I just could never, can't even imagine.
You chasing rabbits or are you herding cats?
A little bit of both, but like, feel like mama hen sometimes too, just like trying to
meow,
get everybody in. But no, I mean, it's a fun journey, man, and I think that's. I listen to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk. I listen to a lot of people who, you know, Tim Ferriss, and you know, I'm big into this podcasting world, and Andy Frisella, and a whole bunch of different guys. And you know, I really do believe that you can't just focus on like the wins, and you can't just focus on, you know, the results. Even though business obviously is a results-oriented business, right, or a results-oriented thing, you got to make money.
Yeah.
But if you're focusing on the process, and if you're focusing on you know, the grind, right. Like, those things are going to yield you the results over time. It's a game of numbers, always is. So you just got to put in the work, and good stuff happens.
Yeah, and embrace the failures. You can't.
Bingo.
So that kind of goes into my next point. One of the hashtags you use is #GrindOn, and I can definitely relate to that. You either have the ability to grind or you don't, and it's one of those things that I feel like a lot of people can be productive and accomplish goals when everything is great and it feels good.
Right.
It's that's not the grind to me. To grind is when things have gone bad, they suck, you feel like hell, and you still have to put in the time, and you still have to put in, and that's when, you know, for me, motivation is nowhere to be found. It's discipline for me, and it's motivation is great to be inspired about things, but when it's 11:30 at night and you still have 2 hours of work for the meeting the next morning, it's the grind. So talk about your take on the grind and grind on.
Yeah, I'm much better athletically with the grind than I am with the business grind. The 11:30 at night, I'm more likely to get my workout in. Otherwise, I'm going to bed. But that's somewhere I can get better. But to me, what the grind is it's really, that hashtag came from just one foot in front of the other. I've been in races on Wintergreen, for example, where I bonked, right? And bonking is not a fun thing. It's when it could be a myriad number of things that happen, whether it's hitting the wall, right? And maybe lack of proper hydration, or maybe my electrolyte balance was off, or maybe I just didn't have it that day, the heat, whatever it may be. But I was literally going one tree to another, like a tree from me to you, like, oh man, I can almost touch that tree. I bet I can get there. Like, dude, literally 1 foot in front of the other. And it was just like, just grind on, just take one more step, and you just keep moving forward, and that's, I've been in those places, in my 50-mile race. I've been in places in workouts where, you just have that point, have that decision where you can quit, and in 10 minutes you'll feel fine, or, you'll be up walking again tomorrow, you'll be in a nice warm bed soon, or you can stick to your guns and stick to the process and stick towards your goals and get through it with that same amount or greater amount of effort, and you always feel better doing that. And it's always the decision, and I've taken that easy route many times, but I always feel better and more proud of myself when I've taken the right route.
That's more or less what I was saying as well. It's not the easy route, or when things are going good. It's
right.
When, like you said, you can barely get 1 foot in front of the other, but you're still moving.
Right.
Awesome, man. So, not to bash on your competition, but I feel like so many gyms and personal trainers just get it wrong. They either make people feel like outsiders, or like they got the bro aggro going, or they're too soft. So talk about the mentality. You talk about this on your site, the mentality of being satisfied with the work you put in your results.
Mm-hmm. We all do this for different reasons. We all exercise for different reasons. Everybody has their goals that they'll tell you, and then everybody has, once you dig down in those layers of why they're really doing something, it's easy to say, I want to lose 15 pounds. All right, why? All right, well, I want to look better and feel better about myself. Okay, why? And when you keep digging down into that, I used to be embarrassed to take my shirt off as a 13-year-old kid in the pool, and that pissed me off, and it made me feel like shit, and I don't ever want to feel that way again.
I don't think you have that problem now.
I'm all right now, right? But
you and your 8-pack.
Yeah, it comes around, but a lot of that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that regret piece. I know I'm going to be 80 years old, 90 years old one day, rocking on a rocking chair and not able to run up and down mountains, not able to crawl and throw and jump and skip and do all these things that I can do now. And I want to be able to take advantage of that. I want to see how far I can go with that, right? And I think a lot of people feel similar to that, or have similar goals, right? When it comes to why they want to better themselves. Nobody, or not everybody, wants to be Michael Phelps, right? But all of us could stand to potentially be healthier, could potentially, feel a little bit better about themselves, could potentially be able to move a little bit better. That adds life years to your entire existence, being able to get up and down out of a chair, when you're older. The best ability is availability, right? And if you are not available due to you being sick or injured, or too stressed or too tired, like, you can't show up for other people, right? And so I think what a lot of gyms and studios do is they focus on the aesthetics, when in reality you should be focusing on the mindset and on the performance. If your performance gets better, if you're training for performance, everything else falls into play. 95% of those aesthetics will fall into play. Mm-hmm. Plus you'll be healthier, and plus you'll be fitter, and plus you'll be able to play with your kids easier in the backyard, and
in the grandkids
in the backyard. Exactly. And so It's that mindset focus and it's that performance focus that I think a lot of gyms are missing. Now, a lot of gyms are doing it really right. A lot of gyms are nailing this. A lot of trainers are nailing this. Like there's equally, the number of incredible gyms and trainers and people in Richmond as there are on the other end of the spectrum.
Nice.
Which is awesome.
What's good where you recognize that?
No, I mean, it's huge. And we're all, there's 1 million people in the Metro Richmond area. Like, I don't believe in competition, really, in this sense, right? Like, definitely if I'm racing somebody, I want to win. But here, if somebody fits better with this model or that model or your model as opposed to my model, let's do it.
Yeah.
Go do your thing. Like be better, just be happy, be involved, right? Get moving. That's all I care about. And so I want to bring people and elevate, Richmond health and fitness in general, right? And that's a big reason why we've partnered with a lot of these local gyms and studios to be able to expose our members to what they do and what makes them special. And a lot of our members, then go off and join these places or drop into classes later on because they love that instructor. They love the way that this person does that thing. And, so a lot of places are doing it right. But I think the ones that are doing it right are focusing on something a little bit more than, what you look in the mirror. And,
the six-pack and the broceps.
The broceps, yeah. I do love some broceps, but,
I was seeing how many times I could get bro in the conversation today. That's only twice.
We got to step that up.
So let's talk about this 50-mile race. Has it already happened or?
Yeah, it did. That was last November.
Okay.
So a buddy of mine, Patrick Kearney, we decided to put on this race to honor his sister who passed away from leukemia about 9 years ago.
Okay.
And so we crazily enough just decided to run 50 miles to try to raise some money for Connor's Heroes Foundation. Patrick ran for his sister Becca. I ran for my little buddy Jack in the Sidekicks and Superheroes program over there, and he's 8 years old or 9 years old now. Was 8 at the time, I believe, and he's fighting the same disease that Becca passed away from. And so I ran for Jack and for kids who can't run and who wish they could and couldn't be out there. And so I think if we hadn't had that goal, if we hadn't had that why, like, we absolutely would have quit 100%. We decided to make it here in Richmond. We called it the RVA River City 50 miler, and we did 5 10-mile loops around downtown Richmond. And so we crossed 4 different bridges on each loop, which was really, really cool. Our center kind of spot was the Bell Island parking lot, and we had a bunch of friends and family come out and join us either for parts of the laps or meet us in the parking lot for the tailgate. And
right.
We had a ton of community support, raised about $7,500, and Pat and I started at 7 a.m. and we finished at 8:30 that night. And
so it's just the two of you?
It was just the two of us. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the farthest either one of us had ever run prior to that was 20 miles. We did 2 20-mile training runs, and so 3 hours and 45 minutes into this thing, I had gone the farthest I've ever gone in my entire life, and was like 10 minutes off like a PR from it. Like, we just didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't have a ton of time to train, and we weren't physically ready for it. But we did it. We completed it. We nailed a lot of aspects of it as far as the nutrition, hydration, supplementation, electrolyte stuff, all that stuff we nailed, and we didn't quit. It was gnarly.
So is this going to be an annual thing?
We are not doing it this year.
I was going to say, you have to be...
I would love to do it again, but it's not going to fit into my training this year.
Okay. Because the other courses you have and the other races you have are probably more priority.
Yeah, they're more priority right now.
Higher priority.
Higher priority. I want to get into the ultra running scene. I think as I'm maybe in 8, 10, 12 years, there are guys who do that, into their late 30s, 40s, 50s, who once you build up that endurance base, that aerobic capacity, it's a little bit easier at that particular point. Like, it's harder from the recovery standpoint, but
yeah.
I haven't been running that long, right?
Okay.
And so I'm going to maximize my ability to be strong and powerful right now as a 30-year-old, right? Kind of in my prime, on my tail end of my prime. I got another 3 to 5 years of being able to run fast before I transition to running long.
I gotcha.
But it was a really cool event, and I think for both Pat and I, it was definitely a top 10 moment of our lives. I mean, it was super neat.
That's
crossing
awesome.
that finish line.
Especially if it's for such a good cause. One of my questions was, how do you train for something like that? You did 220 miles, which is not a 50 miler. So,
No,
I mean, it seems like you'd have to have a screw loose to run 50 miles on purpose. But with a purpose like that, I get it.
Yeah.
Not that I doubt I could run 10 miles.
Well, for a long time, I said I was going to run 30 miles on my 30th birthday, and it just, at that point, which is in February, or was in February, so it's 3 months after the 50 miler. I was like, check, already did that. Don't need to worry about
Crushed that goal.
Yeah, exactly. So
I know when I watch Rogan every now and then, and he has a buddy, Cam
Haynes.
That guy.
Keep hammering. Yeah.
Like 50 miles are no problem. Now he's doing 100, 150
240. He did the Moab 240, finished in 70 hours, 240 miles out in Utah.
And that was 2 days of running straight?
70 hours, almost 3. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, man. He runs a marathon a day. Runs 26 miles a day. Lift, hunt, train, or what is it? Run, lift, shoot. That's his thing. So he lifts hard. He runs. He has a normal job. I think he's like a foreman at a construction company or something like that.
How do you have time to run?
Sponsored by Under Armour. He just gets up and hammers it.
Dude, that seems
crazy.
You just tell that some people are wired a little different, and they got the right set of genes that are able to push through.
For sure.
And
he does it with a smile too, man, and it's awesome. I mean, every single time you see him, he's the most positive, happy, smiling guy, and he's always just like,
that's what I see.
Like, I love this gratitude, like that. I love being able to run. Like, I love it. Thank you. And he's 26 miles for the day, and you're just like, holy shit.
For the day.
Yeah, it's a great week for me.
I used to work with a guy at Capital One who did the 50 milers, and and he was probably 40 in his upper 40s, but he would walk funny at work for like 2 weeks. And it would literally crouch him over in the recovery, and his wife hated it. Like, I asked her about it, and she was pissed about it because he couldn't do anything for days.
Yeah.
But then even weeks after, the recovery was ridiculous.
I mean, I was lifting my feet, or like lifting my thigh behind my legs, lifting my knees up to get into the shower for about 3 or 4 days. My buddy Pat had it for about 2 months. He was dealing with issues. We both came out relatively unscathed in the grand scheme of things, but it messed up, like, my whole system was so drained, like from a CNS and like nervous system standpoint, for probably 8 to 10 weeks. It took me a good, maybe almost 3 months to get back to like a baseline and get back to normal again. Now, again, we were very ill prepared for it. Had we ran that race in June of the following year, after training for 9 months, maybe it wouldn't have.
Right.
It wouldn't have hurt us that bad, but we didn't, no one was injured from the race, but we had 2 IVs after the race, and I still woke up the next day at 0%, dude. 0. I was at 0. And
so tell us how you're feeling.
I can't even describe.
I just get a little dehydrated, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah,
I can't imagine, dude.
It just hurt so bad to exist that night. Like, laying in bed. Both Pat and I laughed about it, and we can laugh about it now, but just any way that you laid hurt in ways that you just wouldn't even know. It's ridiculous. You couldn't even do anything, but yeah, it was crazy.
Cool, man. So if one of my hundreds of listeners is ready to make a change, thousands of listeners is ready to make a change and join the GS Nation, what's the best way to get started?
Yeah, just go to gsnation.com. You can poke around on the site and kind of see what we're all about, what our mentality is, what our mindset is, and kind of where we're focusing, and a lot of ways you can get plugged in, and just hit join.
Yeah, it looked pretty easy when I visited the site.
Yeah.
You got a good coaching staff. You had plenty of coaches, all with a bunch of different specialties and whatnot. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we got a good team, and we do individualized workout programming. Those are 12-week programs that gets delivered into our app. Video instruction, text instruction for every exercise, and your program's written out. So it's really top notch there. And then individual coaching, which is going to focus on those 6 aspects of health and wellness, as well as personal training and group workout stuff. So we got a lot of cool stuff.
I know that Kim Rice is one of my clients.
Yeah.
And I was at a meeting with her one day, and her phone went off, and she's like, "Oh, it's David. He's checking up on me."
He knows I had the donuts.
Right. He knows, like, that's exactly what he knows I cheated or something like that. And you were on her by text. I was like, that's impressive, because that's not cool. The kind of level of, that's not normal. I mean,
Right.
and it's awesome. So
Thank you.
So any other shout outs or stuff you want to mention, events you have coming up, speaking engagements, anything like that?
I just say check us out online, man. I mean, our schedule is up on our page all the time. That's for the week ahead. But, we're on social media as well. I'm at Get Strapped, Stay Strapped, and at the GS Nation on Instagram. That's a good place to find us. We're always partnering with people. We're always, out in public trying to educate and to help people be who they can be and be who they want to become.
Nice.
And you can't just hope it to happen. It doesn't just happen, but anybody can do it. Anybody can be anything in this life. It's just a matter of where you put your focus. And so just check us out online, plug in, and we'd be happy to help.
That's a great outlook, man. And I'll put all the links in the video, as I always do for our guests. I'll put a link to your website and all the places you mentioned in the actual video, and YouTube cuts it out, man. So that's it. That's it, folks. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for coming on the show, David, and everybody have a positive and productive day.
Love it. Thanks, man.